Hey everyone, what's going on? So we are doing the Friday market breakdown today. So we're basically just finalizing the week and just going through what we've had on watch. So no real need to make loads of trades today. It is looking pretty nice, to be honest. So basically what we can see here is we did find a floor here and then we impulsed up, which is great. So we are moving quite aggressively to the upside as expected. We did believe that there was a potential for this to kind of squeeze, come down one more time, but we always knew it wasn't needed. We also knew that this didn't have to come down here, but it did. Tapped into it and now we're aggressively moving long, which is exactly where we need to be. So we can see that on the US related pairs that this move is now on the table, which I think is going to be extremely good. We have literally a very nice run ahead of us. We might find some small correction, but this is the target zone now. So once we get here, we'll evaluate, but it is looking like we could potentially also have some sort of structured approach, but to be honest, I wouldn't be drawing any of these lines just yet because I don't think we are anytime soon into anything like this. If we do get something like this, then we can evaluate, but I don't think that right now is the probable time for that. I think stay on the 4-hour time frame, just evaluate price, let it aggressively play how it wants to play. I think at the moment we could probably see price maybe even come up to here before we come down here. So it's very nice that we've basically found that floor and we're basically moving up. So this is now not needed, this trend line. We can see that we are on the trend up, so everything is confirmed. A lot of bulls will be entering the market because some people do trade breakout strategies from trend lines, so that will be something of interest as well. So you have to understand that a lot of people will be entering the market over here as well to go long on US related pairs. So good stuff. So DXY is looking great, shaped up very nicely over the past week or so. So we can see that, you know, phenomenal since we've entered into February. We'll see how it plays out towards the end of February now. Moving on to my watch list, which is Euro Aussie. We can see with Euro Aussie, as we've forecasted, you know, we had this expanding, we've pushed up now, and we are making it to the high. This 1, 2, 3 is now looking extremely probable. We just need to be keeping an eye on this override, but I think given the circumstance of how price is moving, it's very possible that now we could probably see price do something like this, and then maybe just impulse through it, and then maybe just kind of correct, and then, you know, just get a little bit more messy. But we might see something like this, which could be the gameplay for us. So it could be another week of a little bit more patience, in my opinion. However, just remember we're at the very key area where we need to be. So there could be 2 gameplay runs here because this is a fairly big position in terms of size between the override 2 and 3. You know, it's roughly around about, okay, it's not too big, it's roughly around about 90 pips. So given the circumstance, we could probably just fill that. And then if we complete the 1, 2, 3, that will be even better. So I think eyes on this because we could move here quickly, and then this would be the real gameplay for the short play, in my opinion. So I will be looking and eyeing that up for next week. I think that will be a phenomenal position if you can get involved on that. Well, let's just have a little look. So let's just say that we squeeze in somewhere around about here. We get in even 35. I'll call it about 30 pips. Yeah, so about 30 pips, and then to the low, we're looking at roughly around about a 16% position. And then obviously to play the greater move, which we've been looking at, you know, we've got around about a 50% position on the table. We've got a grand total of about 70. So this could be a monster offer position. I think definitely requires a lot of patience and attention, but also bear in mind, because we are coming from this low, that we can still correct and get higher. So keep that in mind, but I think at this stage it's very probable, and we will be looking for the short position over here. So that's basically the gameplay for GA and it's EA, and we've been waiting for that very patiently for a while. There was that other position which we had in the short play over here, but unfortunately it just didn't play out. But we've always known that this is the better position, comes with a lot more confluence, a lot more context, and then this expanding was just a part of the bigger picture. So it's really good that we're basically following the market and staying synchronized. So just going to be patient now, wait for that 1, 2, 3. We could get the approach maybe Friday, who knows, because we've got some news coming out, RBA meeting minutes on market open, I believe. So on the market open on Tuesday, we could see some extra volatility hitting the market, but like I said, it doesn't really matter. Next one is GBP Aussie. GBP Aussie is looking nice. I think similar price action I'm seeing across the board. I mean, really and truly, I am looking for that short play. But looking at this in hindsight, I think, you know, we do kind of have sort of this not so clean structure here, which I wouldn't really be looking at that, to be honest. Would I take this into consideration? Now, that is a possibility, but I think the odds are if EA is going to sell off, we could actually sell off as well, and then we may possibly see this fill this. So we may potentially come all the way back down here before we come up again. I think that is a possible outcome. I don't think it's very probable. I think maybe this could get very messy and very corrective. So I think for that reason, I probably wouldn't really opt in for a GA short at this point. I think, you know, I'll definitely be keeping my eye on this sort of zone here, see how price reacts. But GA could potentially just, you know, kind of do something else. And then, you know, by the time EA gets down quite aggressively over here, GA could just have moved over here, and then, you know, we're thinking, oh, is it really going to go to that low? Is it really going to go to that low? So they may work in line together. I'm not too sure, but EA is looking so much more appealing than GA, because GA doesn't really have much supporting structure in my opinion. I think there is on the higher time frame, but at the moment it's not really something that I'm going to really entertain. So the next one I'm looking at is GBP CAD. Now, GBP CAD is looking pretty nice, to be honest. I think, you know, we have been eyeing this up for quite some time now. We did get that sort of push higher, but, you know, I think I've said it almost every day. There's always that possibility where we haven't really broken that low yet. We haven't really got any solid commitment. We're very corrective. If we zoom into the lower time frame, it's now getting a little bit more appealing, because we might just get that push lower. So all we're waiting for now is just a commitment to the downside and then commitment back up. That's all we really need. It just requires a little bit more patience, but I think when it comes and it'll be very nice. Just got to literally wait it out. So give that one a bit of time, and I think it could shape up to be very nice. And at the end of the day, if we do go from here again, it is what it is, you know, just accept the fact that that was a possibility. But I think given the fact that we have got some news to do with, you know, whatever, high impact news, it could give us that volatile push that we need. And then if we take this, just slap it on there, roughly give or take, it kind of brings us to that price zone anyway, and then that might be the completion to this price move that we needed. So just keep that in mind. It could be a very, very nice position for the future. CADGen is the other one. So CADGen is looking like it did potentially develop a head and shoulders, but I think it's more for trap at this point. This is looking more so like the pattern that we've been looking at the whole time, where we are going to come and fill that gap up there. If we look at this on the, and I'll just remove this sort of entry point over here that I was looking at. So we basically kind of tapped into, originally we tapped into this 1, 2, 3 as we broke. And I can see why a lot of people would have wanted to go short, which is not a bad position. You just have to understand that this can develop further, which we've always understood. So we had this larger pattern over here, and then we basically from here had this sort of expanding field to the low. We didn't quite get any commitment on this, so if we just pattern separate this completely, and this was kind of that part there, then we kind of just had to evolve. And then as we evolved, we didn't really have the best of entries, but this kind of became an expanding to the upside. And then as we got to the upside, we then ascended. The thing about this is it's very possible at this point in time that this can fill this, which is a lot of a better play at the moment, but this can still drop off. And the reason being is, if I take away this ascending and we look at this for what it is, we can see over here that there's the possibility on the table that this becomes the left shoulder head and then the very messy right shoulder, but then it gives us that gameplay where we have this, and then we have a head and shoulders in a very good area of value, and then we can take that to the short play. So I wouldn't cross off completely the short, but I wouldn't get involved on a long position here, even though that this is shaping up for a nice long. I'm more in favorable for the long, believe it or not, but that knowing that the head and shoulders is on the table, I wouldn't really get, you know, stuck into this. So understand this. This is a very good, interesting play, and I think if I was going to take a position, it would be the long position for the reduced risk entry, and then just understand that, you know, that is basically the trade to the high of 6%. And in my opinion, that would be a much better play than taking, you know, taking the short right now. But understanding that, you know, if there is a more riskier entry, you know, you could probably squeeze in about, call it about 10 pips from current price action. You're looking at roughly around about 13% on that position, but understand that's a lot more riskier as a position, and I wouldn't really say that's worth taking. I'd say the reduced risk is the better trade on the table there. The next one that I'll be looking at is GBP yen. Now GBP yen is looking pretty fiery, to be honest. Same situation as CAD yen. We've had this corrective squeeze low. The question that I have is, are we going to come to this low before we go high? So will we get that drop off and then price just kind of hits this low and then we kind of push high? Is that a possibility? You know, I'm looking for that short play in the long run. I think the short play over here would be nice. Just have to understand that at the moment we're not really anywhere. You know, we're kind of just in the middle of price. The best thing to do is just wait for price to get to these areas. Once that alert is triggered, we can then evaluate price up here, and then we can look for something. But at the moment, there isn't anything for us to really trade off, and I think there's no real structure here at all to really play around with, in my opinion. So I will wait patiently, and then this can develop as 0.1, and then this can go probably here, correct, and then we might get something like that before we drop off. And in my opinion, that becomes so much nicer than kind of just getting involved on any old position right now. We just have to understand that it just requires a large amount of patience, this trade. Understanding that also this 1, 2, 3 is not also the most probable, but it's possible as well if we do get something like that. So evaluate how price drops off from these zones, because that's going to give you an indication if we will come up for that completion of that 1, 2, 3. But I think something like this would be very nice for a GA play. So I would keep an eye on these type of positions, because these are the ones that can be extremely profitable. Honestly, you can take a risk entry up here. You can even slap in a sort of, call it less than that, to be honest. I would say roughly even 20 would be good, and then to that low you're looking at a rate maybe around about 40%, and then to this low down here 72%. So phenomenal entry points, entry analysis, and so forth. So like I said, these are the trades that you really want to be getting involved in my opinion, but that's the highest of probability trades that can really shape up in the messiest sort of way possible. You know, we kind of have that scoop, so call it a hook, and then we kind of push, we create this very corrective squeeze, and then we squeeze at the end as well, clear it on the 1 hour always, and then boom, we're in for the entry at the risk, and then it kind of just drops off aggressively, and then you're in for a very secure protected entry. Next one is Euro Yen. Euro Yen is very simple. We are still looking at the long. We've completed this expanding, very good entries in there, and then as we can see, this was completely intentional. If you look back on 2 Sunday market breakdowns ago, we were forecasting this way back down here in January. In fact, we were looking for a larger correction. It just happened to be larger than expected, happened to be an expanding. Wasn't exactly what we wanted, but it was in there, and then now we can see that it's actually playing out very well. So from here, this is the correction outside of it, and we're going to basically look for a very good entry there. So I think in terms of an entry, right now is actually the entry point. Maybe slightly missed, but you could probably just squeeze it in. So if I take this entry over here, and I would squeeze it in around about 84, so it'd be somewhat very large, but remember it's a longer term position, and you'd be taking it to this high, which is roughly around about a 7.22% position. So it's actually looking pretty nice. I think overall, I would be looking to take an entry like that every day. Not exactly in the stop size, but you know, we've basically pushed, we're at the top of this expanding, we've pushed above, we've flagged, and now we're going, and this is going to move aggressively. There's nothing to really stop us there. We have a clear run for a 3% probably over here. Yep, and there's enough room to protect ourselves. So bang bang position, honestly. Let's just see how that plays out, but definitely keep an eye on EJ for the long. Now moving on to the wild cards, we can see that we are looking at USD yen. So previously we were looking at the long position in here, where you could have pretty much just taken a position and tightened up the stop loss. 15 was probably the most suitable, and you would be running roughly around about 10% at this point. So once again, a very nice position for a late in the run position. We can see that there's so much potential over here. We always thought there was a potential that this could drop off and fill this, but you know, given how the DXY was and Euro USD working in correlation, we did see that kind of pullback, and then it's no surprise that we're all the way up here. One thing that I really do like about this is that, you know, we are essentially moving up aggressively, so it doesn't show that there's really any indication that we're going to short from here. However, please understand that that is a possibility. So even though this inflection point is done, we don't really need to be looking at all of this mess anymore. We can actually remove this. Well, okay, we can leave it on anyway, just because it, you know, it kind of just paints a better picture. But, you know, more so we're at this override point here, so there's a possibility that we can go from here. Would I just take an entry right here, right now? No, not really, because we haven't really approached in, you know, the sort of nature that I want to be approaching. However, I will be looking for a solid push down flag, and then we go. That's the sort of entry that I would be taking to go to the downside. However, given how this is shaped up, you know, there's always the possibility that this can just correct, go higher, become a head and shoulders as well. So it's not the easiest areas to enter, but if there is that move to the low, it could be very aggressive, or there could be a bunch of opportunities on the way to the downside. If we just correlate this quickly with the DXY, we can also see that the DXY is looking somewhat aggressive to the upside. We did have a little small gap on the push. However, we don't have to fill it immediately. We can still push a little bit more. I think given how the price is moving, it's very likely that we are going to be moving to these highs. However, we have broken, you know, well, no, that means nothing, to be honest. There's nothing really there to really kind of say, let's turn the market around at this point. I think it might just get correction. It might just correct a little bit more, kind of just, you know, get people to accumulate some money in here, and then we might just shoot up, and that might be the gameplay. So I'll definitely keep my eye on UJ. I think UJ for sure could be doing a similar thing, where we basically push up a little bit higher, correct up here, and then we just shoot up for the next price point. So don't get caught up too much in this. I think, you know, if it doesn't go from here, we could see the next one, and then that's it really. So those are really my price points that I'm really looking at, but we always understand that we can go to the next one. The short is very, very, very good, but we have to remember the long positions are also very, very profitable as well. It just means that they take longer, but the shorts on UJ are phenomenal. Honestly, once you catch them and you experience them, they're great, but you can miss them very easily as well. So that's basically it for UJ. Moving on to the next one, which is Euro US dollar. Euro US dollar as well is looking extremely nice. I mean, it's in line with the DXY. We basically tapped into this inflection point. We basically filled all of this price, and now we're just somewhat pulling back. I don't think this is the convincing sort of price action you want to be in for a long, but we have to understand that this can become a little bit more messy, and we could see something like, you know, something like this to go short. Probably not that large, but you know, I just want you to bear in mind that we can just get a correction to continue to go lower as the DXY is pulling back to fill in that gap. We could see something like that, but on the lower time frame. So, you know, ideally we'd go down to the 1 hour and just have a little look, and then we could just either sell off quite aggressively right now, or we could just, you know, kind of just do this and then just kind of drop off, and then understand that there's that sort of price over here. Like I said, it's probably not the best of areas to take a long position in my opinion, because we're not coming from anything majorly significant. However, just bear in mind that there is a few possibilities on the table for us to really capitalize on this. So yeah, that basically summarizes Euro US dollar. If I was to be getting involved on this, it would really be in these areas. I wouldn't be entertaining any trades over here unless we had something significantly playing out, nice and simple structure I can get involved in. But like I said, no reason to be looking at it if there's no solid trade in there with good protection. Aussie US dollar. Now, Aussie US dollar is a bit of an annoying trade for me because, well, once again, I missed this trade. So basically, I eyed up this position here where we basically had this, and then I took the Aussie Swiss one, which I'll talk about in the next video as well. But basically, we had this position here, which was roughly around about a 20 pip stop loss. You could perhaps maybe stop crop it a little bit, but yeah, that was it. And then basically that was the position, and we ran around about 42%, which is not bad at all. Really well protected, really good position. I was happy with it. I mean, still running a solid profit, and it's moving in line with the higher time frame, which I do like. So we had that sort of, you know, head, left shoulder, right shoulder, and then now we're aggressively playing to the short side, which is really good. So really good position. I think it's a bit late right now to be taking a short. However, if we do get some sort of correction over here, you know, don't miss out on the opportunity where, you know, something like this plays out, because that can also be very profitable. So if something like that plays, take advantage of it ASAP, because it will be a very good trade. Next one is USD CAD. USD CAD is okay. Let's see. Yeah. So it is actually basically where we need it to be. I think this is the short play. I wouldn't jump into the trade right now. I would wait for that 1 hour close, which is in 10 minutes. But if we do get that, that could be a solid trade as well. Just have to wait and see. Could be very, very good. Just have to literally wait and see for that one. So that could be a solid trade. We'll see how that shapes up. Yeah, we'll see how that shapes up. 100%. That could be a wicked trade, honestly, to the downside. Could be looking at about 13% there. So we'll see how that is. And then the next one is EuroCAD. I think EuroCAD is awesome. We looked at this. We had the position for the long here. We had the flag now, and then we could potentially just see this glide its way up. So, you know, this was the entry point over here. More so, we would have seen it like that, and then mitigated the risk under here, and then taken the long position. So that could play out to be a very nice position. It's being somewhat corrective at the moment, could get a little bit messy, but yeah, that's the gameplay to that high. And then Aussie Swiss as well. Aussie Swiss is the one that I said is a mistrade. So, oh, it's not a mistrade, sorry, I did take the trade. It's just, I'll show you a snapshot actually. Basically, I took the trade, and I probably got involved around about here. For some reason, around about here, for some reason, my stop loss was around about 10 pips. Around about there. The broker closed my position. Yeah, so it was very frustrating, very frustrating. So that was my entry point, that was my stop loss up here. They closed the position there, and the position just ran. And it was very frustrating because I just didn't understand. It was nothing to do with, they even admitted that there was an error on their behalf, and they will reimburse me for the cost it took me to open the position, so the loss that I took, but it didn't really reimburse me shit because I basically missed out on my position. But I'll talk about that in a separate video on the funding assessment. So yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, in terms of this, you know, we are still looking at the greater move to the low. This is very corrective on the way down, so I think looking at this, I don't think it's going to come and gravitate all the way back up here, but we could see some corrections in here to take it to the short. But I think at some point we are going to get that aggressive just drop off, so keep a mind on that. Looking at the higher time frame picture, there's still quite a lot of the move to get involved in. So this can move aggressively to this low, and if we can break through that, we could move to the next one. So that's basically the gameplay of what I'm looking at for Friday. But obviously I will be doing my Friday market breakdown in terms of going through all my currency pairs, indices, probably just currencies, and then I'll be narrowing down my watch list for next week, and then going for it tomorrow and Sunday as well, and then finalizing, and I will release a video probably Saturday or Sunday, but regarding the Sunday market breakdown. So have a good week, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. And if you have any questions, please drop them below. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.